Sup. Welcome back to Blazy B, where I'm Blaze and I'm B. And today we're just going to talk about my baking journey. Um, I am currently a baker, if anyone did not know, at a cafe. And it kind of was dropped into my lap. And it was weirdly like a dream I had back in the day was a bakery. I could totally do a bakery. And then I was thrust. Anyways, okay, so I'm currently a baker. I make a variety of items, including cookies in like a mass quantity. Okay. Think like a ton of cookie dough and then weighed out into individual things, pucks, and then frozen. Okay. So making large quantities of cookie dough, baking them, all the things. Got a brown butter for some of that. And, icing cookies. Had to kind of figure that out, but at the same time, kind of knew. Um, what else do I do? I do cheesecakes, macarons, uh, now carrot cakes. Um, what else? We've got our ooey gooey butter cake and lemon crisp bars and all these bars and all these random things and cupcakes and like full on bakery things, not like your very specific drawing decor bakeries with like fondant and things like that, but like actual truly delicious vibes going on. Tiramisu, strawberry cheesecake now, or strawberry shortcake now. Um, okay, so a variety, so many items, a variety. So, but my baking started back in the day. My mother is a fabulous baker. She's a fabulous cook and a fabulous baker. Her baking is just, I don't even know like what's better, cooking or baking. Susan Centerman embodies fucking Betty Crocker. This woman can do it all and with a smile on her face. It's ridiculous. And I'm talking extremes of things. You're making, I don't even know, like any dish food wise, big into, oh, she made really good chicken enchiladas. She makes really good chicken piccata that I love. Lots of soups. She roasts a lot of veggies, like just like really good stuff. But then her baking, holy shit. Okay, so she's really known for her cinnamon rolls and her caramels. So these cinnamon rolls they're unmatched. I have eaten many of cinnamon rolls. I don't know if you notice, I love sugar. I have a sugar addiction. I'd say it's probably my hardest addiction to break. Um, Everything else I can go a time or two without, but sugar, whoo, baby, I am an addict. I'm a sugar addict. My name is Brittany. So sugar. I've always loved sugar. I've been a big fan my entire life. I got chunky because, again, I love the sugar. So, yeah, sugar. So then as a kid, my mom's making these cinnamon rolls. She's making these caramels. These caramels are a staple in my household during Christmas specifically, but can be requested throughout the year. But it has become an even more ornate process. So she makes these caramels. They're chewy caramel or caramel, however you want to say it. And then we wrap them in a wax paper, and you have a specific way to wrap them from the corner. And so mom makes these caramels, gets them to like a soft, firm ball, whatever. And I think firm ball. And then puts them into a pan, lets them sit overnight, and then dad cuts them. So it used to be and on a marble slab. Like it needs to be a hefty thing. You're about to throw your weight into some candy. And so dad's the cutter, right? And so back in the day, he's just like one knife in it, just whoa. And you're making a lot of caramels for one batch. And sometimes it's Christmas time, you're making a few batches. And this woman's just cranking out caramels. And so, and then they freeze. Mom freezes a pan, a sheet pan, and then dad will like throw these caramel pieces onto these pans that are cold, and then we take them off and we're rolling them and wrapping them. All while we're typically watching Elf, is just the typical let's just put on Elf. Um, Mom laughs like it's the first time she's ever seen it, every single time. It's great. Lots of joy. So we wrap these caramels as a family. So now we have a rolling blade that is in like specific measurements, and we roll, and it's like such an easier process. Still difficult. Big marble slab you're putting this on, still frozen pans. And then we now get pre-cut wax papers in a size. So we don't have to like sit down, cut these wax piece of paper and then roll up. And so seamless process now. But this is my childhood. Like that's normal. Oh, mom also makes like the best homemade caramel corn. Holy shit. It slaps. It is so good. But back to the cinnamon rolls. I've eaten millions of cinnamon rolls in my lifetime. But sometimes I've like stopped ordering them at places because I just know they're dry. I know they're not what I want. Like it just doesn't hit. Moms are like a mix between like a good sweet dough of a nice bakery and like not too much of a Cinnabon style, but like that kind of gooey and frosting esque, like gets that vibe, but it's not too much, Like you could inhale two and think about a third, but you can't do that with a lot of cinnamon rolls. You would just be like, "Oh, that's like a lot. It's very rich." Or they're like too big that you're like can't even finish one, but you want like the parts of it that you want. Like the middle's different than the middle layer, different than the outer layer, and all. Hers are just perfect, and she makes sure they are perfect. If they are not perfect, if they do not rise right, they are in the trash. Can't look at them. Doesn't say a word though. And then stays up all night for her 4 hours of making these cinnamon rolls because you got to rise the dough. You got to do all this stuff. She makes another batch because, you know, you can't be serving shit cinnamon rolls. Even if they probably taste good, but something's not right. And she is not about to give you a cinnamon roll and say, these are my cinnamon rolls. Quality control, that woman. Same with caramels. Too hard, not going out to people. Too soft, we deal. But she is on her numbers. She's watching her thermometer. She's very technical with all her stuff. Now she's making sourdough. Her sourdough is very good as well. Like very good. Like very good. Oh, it's like very good. I'm jealous of Matthew who gets like a half a big, roll every other week. She be a bacon. And like Christmas time in particular, like we had our staple. She makes this prune cake that is like this very delicate shortbread bottom and then prunes, dates, all this like jam, and then like thick, and then a lattice of that shortbread on top. And it's my favorite dessert probably of all time. I'm obsessed with it. It's like Italian prune cake, and don't knock the name. It is the best. I have never attempted to make it. I don't know why I'm so scared, but like and her caramels either. I've attempted the cinnamon rolls. They were fine. They were not like mom's, so I have to practice that. It's just getting a lot to get used to, and you have to continue to make the same recipe multiple times to really figure it out. And obviously, she's got a million years of doing all of that, so comes naturally now. But still, she'd mess up a batch, she'd throw it in the trash, and she'd do it again. It's crazy. So my entire life was that you had access to that type of desserts. We are a household that did not do box anything. Box gave you cancer. We're not doing processed foods. We are like chicken, rice, beef, steak, like all the solids. Um, and same with making desserts. You're going to make a good ass pie, and it's going to be everything is homemade. We are a homemade household, and that woman could do it all. So why not be a homemade house? It's so much better. And so I had to help in the kitchen. That's like part of what you do. And she'd teach me recipes. That was the best thing. If you could read a recipe, you could make anything you want. So we had a kids cookbook, Matthew and I, that had like French toast and like random cookies and like yada yada yada. So we'd get into that. We'd be reading the recipe, and it's like you got to read the recipe a few times before you even start, because you don't know if those ingredients are divided within that recipe. You got to read the entire recipe. So now it's like read the recipe 3 times and then you can actually go and bake that. That's what I go by now, because there's so many things you miss if you don't read the entire thing through before you even start, and read it through a few times, because there's things like you miss, or there's just details. And anyways, baking is specific. And that's okay. That's the other thing. Baking is specific. It is a science. These recipes are a recipe for a reason. And toying with certain things means you need to add different things. And mom was very good at like knowing these things and kind of explaining. Um, because I like my friends, they go to bake and then it's like things aren't level and my heart is like starting to race and I'm like, holy shit, this is like it might not turn out. I've gotten a bit more lenient, but very specific. And I like that about baking. I like a good, precise recipe that this is what it is and it will turn out right. Just follow the frickin' recipe. No room for creativity. Just cut and dry. This is what it is. So, yes. And then Saturdays, dad and I would make cornbread for the household. And it kind of became like an every Saturday thing. Or if we had a swim meet, dad would make French toast. Mom is not allowed to make French toast. Hers is soggy and disgusting. She leaves the bread in too long. Dad just wants a little dip, and he's also perfected that recipe by adding almond extract. Woo! It's so good. So he used to make French toast, but then if we didn't have a swim meet and we could like do it together, I'd get up and we'd make cornbread. And so he'd have, I think, the wet ingredients and I'd have the dry ingredients. And then I'm like sifting through my cornmeal and my flour and yada, yada, yada. And we're mixing it together. And then we started adding like brown sugar on top and like, ooh, maybe we should add a little maple in there. Like, that's a little too sweet. But we'd always make honey butter as well, and like melted butter and melted honey, right? But like you have to get the right taste. Like, is this too honey, too buttery? Got to get that mesh. And then dad also just has a massive sweet tooth, definitely where I get it. And he makes like butter, like kind of scotcheroos without the chocolate topping. So he'll just warm up butterscotch chips and then mix them with Rice Krispies and either like put them in an 8x8 mass, pan and then cut them into squares, or just make like a little bowl for himself and just nom it out. It's great. It hits all the things you needed to hit. And so, anyways, I grew up baking. I am very familiar with the difference between a tablespoon and a teaspoon and all of these terminologies. So then when you watch Schitt's Creek and they're like, just fold in the cheese, like that folding is actually a technique like for cooking and baking. You're like folding something in. You don't want to flatten it. You just want to like roll it over. There's a lot of terminology to cooking, to baking, to all the things that you have to learn through these processes. So I mean, like, I did all the basics. In my mind, these were basics, like watching my mom do cinnamon rolls and then caramels. This was like the fucking standard. And then homemade caramel corn, geez, like freaking bomb.com. My dad also like pops popcorn every weeknight, or not weeknight, weekend night. So like everyone was in the kitchen. The kitchen was the happening place. If you didn't, like, what are you doing there if you're not helping? Uh, unless you're doing homework. And so you're just always participating in the kitchen. And then during holidays, it's like, hey, can you help me do this? Can you help me do this? So you're making the strawberry pretzel salad because mom's over there making something else. And you have this expectation of just making things. If you can read a recipe, blah, blah, blah. If you got a question, ask me. We just conquer the kitchen. And then every year, so my grandma and grandpa, they live out in Iowa. And so they're farm people. And so then all of my cousins and my aunts and uncles, they're farm people. And so they'd all do 4-H. They were all in all these things. And so they'd have to compete for state and like do all these things. And so they'd be baking all the time, all these random things. Like if you ever tried a Dutch letter, look up that recipe. I want to try it. It's always kind of scared me. There's certain things that scare me. Croissants scare me. That's 3 days of preparation. It's not that deep. I'm just being a little bitch. But they scare me. I'm like scared. Cheesecakes always scared me until I did. I'm at Joseph's, so I'm making cheesecakes. And the recipe was written by Brennan and it is so good and detailed. And it I got I read the recipe a few times and then I could do it. It made sense. Okay, great. And certain things like I've made it now a few times and I know what makes it better in certain ways and how to navigate like literally the water and the water bath. Excuse me. So things like that and learning all these things just depending on what I want to make. So with the 4-H stuff, the Dutch letters, we were introduced to kind of all these different types of baking. And like the harder you did, the better you could kind of score or category you get in. 4-H had all this stuff. And so then every Thanksgiving, grandma would always have an activity for us, young cousins, to do after dinner. So we'd like feast. And of course, there's desserts there. She makes like 3 different types of pies for Thanksgiving. You get your choice, I think, between like chocolate, probably apple, and pumpkin. So get it all. But there's just tons of baking around. Everyone loves to bake in that household. It's pretty great. And so some of the activities would be like, okay, this year we're making bread rolls with Santa, like making a Santa face out of bread rolls, or we're making Dutch letters. I think we did that one year as a trial for the 4-H thing. So we'd always be baking, and it'd be like a kind of a baking activity usually. And it was always great and I loved it. So always have been in the kitchen, yada yada yada, whatever, whatever. And then I go off to college and I'm like able to feed myself and like just it's like, oh my gosh, a whole new world that it's like my kitchen. You know, I'm not in my mom's kitchen. I can make things now. I have my own kitchen. So I'd always make mainly things from the box because it was cheaper and you can't get all these ingredients and like keep cocoa powder on hand. Like, who am I? So I just make a lot more. But it became like I'm gonna put chocolate chip cookie dough inside of my chocolate cupcakes, you know, and see how that bakes out. Love that. Okay, great. Repeat. And you know, I just bake different things. And then I realized how much I enjoyed going somewhere and then a baked item is always like more sought after, in my opinion. Like drinks are great. Like thanks for bringing drinks. Thanks for bringing this. Thanks for bringing that. But like a dessert, everyone's always like very excited about. And sometimes they don't hit. Like I honestly feel bad. I've only had a few failures, but like they were my failures. I feel like other people were like, "No, this is good. This is good," and I was like, "Oof, my fail." Um, but I get so much joy out of watching people try something I make and they just, because food gives you that reaction. It can be orgasmic. I mean, like, sometimes food is so damn good and it hits right in the moment you need it to. And you're just like, and desserts do that to people. And when I can give you that reaction, ooh, mama leggy. Oh, I feel a sense of joy and purpose in that for some reason. I mean, totally normal. I know, too far. But anyways, I feel like that continued throughout college and then I became an adult and it was just like a normal thing to do. I would bake because I find joy in baking and I love sugar. And so I'd be like, okay, I'll bake, I'll eat one of these cookies and then I'll take the rest to work. I'd want to try a new recipe. Like I follow all these bakers online. I love all these recipes. I have like trusted sources. I love, love, love Sally's baking addiction. She's phenomenal. Natalie's Kitchen, also love. My mom is obsessed with everything off of the show The Kitchen, I think. And G is on there. She's obsessed with G, I think, physically and everything else. um, Emily's obsessed with New York Times. You know, we do a lot of New York Times recipes through the shop, and I feel like they're just tried and true. They're simple. They're not too much. They just they're like a good solid, and they hit. They're I mean, our strawberry shortcake was great and things like that. But I do the sweeter stuff, and the Southern girls, they got some recipes and they have good notes. If you ever gone to the recipe and then read all the notes, read those notes. They are good. How long you can freeze them for, how, yada, yada, yada. If you replace this, now I went through a phase that I had a lot of like vegan friends around me. And so I had to change up my baking. And I did. I was like, hell yeah, challenge accepted. And I would sub applesauce for an egg. Okay, great. And would usually look for like butterless things, like having oil. And like brownies are easy to do that with. Lots of things, lots of cookies. You could make a lot of things vegan easily. And so okay, I'm learning a different side of things and I love it. And I'm just looking to make someone's day, Make that day through your taste buds, in your mouth. I did that. And especially now, for someone's birthday, I am down to give you your heart's desire. Tell me what you want. Usually people just ask for the simplest things, and it's very sweet, but that's what they want. They want a really good chocolate chip cookie. They want a death by chocolate cake that they can indulge in. They just really want. And I make a mean Twix bar. Mom's Twix bar recipe is phenomenal. It's got like club crackers and then ground up graham crackers and like a buttery brown sugar mixture, and then topped with a chocolate peanut butter butterscotch. So good. And then I put some salt on top. But I think I just love to eat sweet things so that I'm motivated to try recipes. And then if they're good, it's a skill that I can like translate out to people. And that is how I bring joy, is just through sweets. And then now like I never thought I'd be a professional baker. That's crazy. It was kind of in my like once future thought process, little bank up there, but not anything I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go work for this bakery and be a baker. Like I just want to eat it at that point. I don't need to like be obsessed with like breads. Like it's a lot of rising and a lot of things that scare me. And I'll stick to my bars and my things like that. But then I'm at Joseph's, baker's not working out. Okay, great. We need to find a baker. We looked. And then I was like, okay, you need to be the baker. I was like, bet, I can do this. Let's go. And I was pretty happy. Like, I mean, I was like down, out of the spotlight upstairs, down in the basement, and just baking. Like, I can absolutely do this. And oh man, it's a lot of work. First of all, there's stairs. The bakery's in the basement. So you're carrying up these trays, you're carrying up like massive amounts of cookies and just like up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Putting things out, getting it out, like making platters, getting them upstairs. Like it's way more production than like a classy croissant bakery. You know what I'm saying? Very different type of bakery, but like for the masses of good stuff. We make great stuff, and it's like kind of crazy. Kylie set the bar high of productivity, and it was like, okay, you got to keep up with Kylie. And I feel like I did a pretty good job, or I am doing a pretty good job, because that bitch is hard to keep up with, and she's just like turbo speed, and she owns her own bakery. Let's just say that. So she knows how to bake. Baking is literally in her blood. Her mom has a bakery. So it was like, okay, if Kylie's the standard, whoo, baby, here we go. And then I got in there. She helped me a lot. She trained me a lot. And then it was like, I can read a recipe. Let's go. Let's just hit it. And then I had to learn a lot of things. I mean, I had to learn tiramisu, which isn't that hard. I mean, the recipe is very good. But like, there's an art to that, to make it nice and smooth. which I don't honestly get that often. It's difficult, and it changes daily, especially like you have to take in consideration the humidity level of the air, like the temperature. All these different things can affect all of your things. And the pickiest little thing that I had to learn was macarons. And so now I make macarons weekly. Like, ain't no thing. I've really got it down. But it took me probably 10 times to feel like, damn, I got this consistently good, okay. And I'm still working on my buttercreams. They're not phenoms. They could be better. And I think they just need to be whipped more and like a little more flavor, but like more lemon. But it is everyone's palate is just so different and it's hard to bake for the masses. So and like figuring out flavors week by week. It's been such a journey and such a different environment than like a barista or like managing or honestly anything I've ever done. It's just like well, it feels like swimming too. I'm kind of a race against the clock. I'm a race against myself and how much I can do in this time frame. So I get there at 7. I immediately turn on the oven. I go into the freezer. I get out my cookies and my pastry thing. Okay, great. Set it out. Put everything on plate or on trays. Put them in the rack. Wait for the thing to go. All right, beep, that's ready. And then I put a tray in. And then I'm like doing other things. I'm cutting up my fruit. I'm taking out my buttercream icing. I'm like doing all these things in like 10-minute segments because of my cookie tray. Actually, like 5 minutes. I'm like rotating trays. And so every 5 minutes is just like a different shift. And I'm constantly just regulated by this timer. And so it's like I can do something, it goes in for 40 minutes. Then I do something else while that's going. Okay, it comes out of the oven. Can there be something else that I've made in that middle time to go in the oven after that? Because I've only got one oven in the basement. We've got one upstairs with a lot of racks. But again, the stairs and like there's just like no room. So I really try and stay downstairs. And so it is just me playing Tetris with my own baking, and that's freaking great. I do love that. And it kind of just comes with ease, especially now. Like I feel comfortable in my macarons, I feel comfortable in my cheesecake, feel comfortable in my tiramisu, all the things that it's like, yeah, you want to try something different? Let's go. I'm going to try this. Or I saw this on TikTok. I feel confident. I've made it at my house. I really liked it. I think we should try it. Okay, cool, and then we just go into it. So I am glad that like no matter what, I don't think I'd make anything that tastes like shit. So everything is quite edible, but my skill level has just risen, and it's awesome. And now, especially macarons are a sought after thing. So to be able to make like know how to make those and then make them kind of fun and exciting. I feel like that is an easy wedding gift. An easy, any type of like gift or like a sentiment to someone, macarons. Like baking is just to me sharing love. And if I can do that through the shop, great. But like I end up baking and bringing things in to the shop for the employees. I love that I still have my love for baking, even as a baker. That's a plus because I kind of was worried about that. Like, when something becomes your job, you're like, fuck that. Uh, but nah, I'm vibing and I'm up and down right now, like barista a few days a week and then baker a few days a week. And so I'm just like kind of in the groove of in and outness, and it's pretty cool. So that's my little baking journey. If you need any baking tips, I'm here. Or fun recipes, I don't know. Maybe I should get a cookbook made. Meh. But anyways, ciao ciao for now.